Good morning, Flosstube. Pam, stitching between the lines. It is Thursday, September 5th, 2019. This is my 60-second video about cross stitch with the occasional quilting thing thrown in. My head's cut off. My head is cut off because I'm really trying to feature. First of all, we're in a different spot, so it's just a matter of what works to set up. I'm trying to feature this quilt that's on the wall in my basement family room, and it sits alongside our treadmill. See, so that's like the handle. I pulled the quilt out over the other handle just maybe to get a better picture. This was one of the coolest quilts I made. I made two that were like this. One was houses and the other is this with the farms and the chickens, which are so stinking cute. I can't stand it. I took a class at a quilt store, which is where we made it, and I looked through all my patterns and I couldn't find either of them, the house one or the barn one. So if you are like falling over dead to find this, I will have to track back through my blog and see if I can find when I was working on it. It's just a different style. I really never have seen these patterns for sale anywhere. So other than when my quilt store was offering a class. So I can't honestly say you'll ever be able to find them. So isn't that cute? So mostly we don't care if I'm in the picture. We care if that's in the picture. So anyhow, it's, I don't make videos on any kind of schedule. I just try to do it at least once a month and often enough, sorry, in front of the camera there, often enough to, like if I have a good stopping point or whatever on a project, then I'll do the video. So anywho, I haven't done a lot of stitching the last few weeks. It's been very, very, very busy. I've been really not, it's the end of summer. Not a lot of stitching. I did though do two word plays. I did the one that was technically in my count. I'm not doing them in the order, but one each month. So I did the one for August, and I've already done the one for September, which I really started in August. Kind of probably finished it in August, but I did April. Brenda Gervais with Thy Needle and Thread. April. I did this one on, I went and found various pieces of fabric that were the right size or cut them down and zipped a little serger along the edges. So this one was on a 32 count Oaken by Picture This Plus. And I've used Oaken before, and I've never felt like I couldn't stitch appropriately on it for its count. I found this one to be so tight in the weave that I did 1/2, and that's the kind of coverage I got. A lot. I mean, it's it's what you would think would be on 36 count, but they're not. I measured, I've counted, it's 32 count. So I don't know. I think the color is a little washed out here. You know how that goes. So April is done. Make my piles. And I did March, and the fabric sticker is inside of the package. So March was done on a piece of Picture This Plus Mellow, which is 32 count, and I did it 2/2, pretty much with the called for colors. There were a couple greens I just didn't have, or I didn't like the color, so I just picked a green, and it's random, and everything's been put away. So I don't think there's anything special enough about this that anybody would want to mimic it. But aren't those the freakiest looking little animals? This one was kind of a quick one because there's not a lot, the pictures aren't very involved. So that's done. And let me just reach over here. Just picked up randomly, not in any of my categories of mania or a whip or anything. I just picked it up and started it because it's cute. A Mill Hill Jim Shore ornament, one of the Santas. I'm not sure how it's going to show on the perforated paper. Not terrible. Hang on. There's no explanation for why this is underway when I still have a mania whip, like it was a whip in Mania that I haven't touched since its day in Mania, as well as, sorry, I'm kind of looking at what the heck's going on with the thread there. I discovered I had another Mill Hill ornament started that when I counted whips and all that, I didn't even count it. I didn't even come across it, so no explanation. And then I've put just the smallest amount of stitches in the Santa. All right, and I brought it to show because the name, last time I tripped over the name, it is Spirit of Christmas. Lavender and lace, right? I left it upstairs, the package. I've really just been doing some red here and there, red. Yesterday I stitched along the outer edge of his sleeve and came around. So this is Spirit of Christmas. The Quaker that was my Christmas Day start that's been framed and I've shown it many times. That's Christmas Quaker 2. So that's where I keep tripping up over the names, as those things are kind of similar. Or I don't know. I was working on them at the same time. I have no idea why I have a problem there. But anyway, there it is. I brought, and then the rest of the stuff I have to show is quilts. I forgot to bring the picture frame I was going to talk about. It's just an empty frame from Michael's. It was a square. It's like 10 by 10 white square picture frame. Hang on. I'm going to pause you and see if we can come back. Well, we started new again, but you won't know that. I'll put it together. Anyway, we all have our Michael's story for framing. And I went to Michael's earlier in the summer, and I was looking for frames. And I came across this frame, which this is just what was in it. And it had a label, like a corner tag on it somewhere. And the corner tag said that this frame was 8 by 10 or something weird. Well, obviously it's not. So I took it over to the counter where the framer works. And I just laid it down and maybe got a tape measure out or used her ruler that was on the counter or something. I said, I just wanted to see what the size of this frame was because obviously it's not whatever this corner label says. And she said, oh, whatever, I don't know. It was weird, whatever. And I was looking at it and I had various pieces with me that I wanted to frame or find frames for. And I had this, which is one of the thread packs. It's the month of July, I think, August. I didn't stitch the words, so. And I was contemplating, and I asked her, I was considering that there was too much white mat. And I said, what color mats do you have? Can I have a mat cut that would complement this? And she launched right into this whole thing about me getting it framed and how it wouldn't cost that much and the framing sale, blah, blah. I'm like, no, this little thing, I'm going to frame it myself. I just wanted a mat with a little color. So she pulls out her, like, a dozen mats, and she said, at the same time, she's really trying to railroad me into the framing, so she's laying it on the counter, and she said, lay it out right there, and she ended up like taking a picture of it. Apparently there's a picture or a camera straight up, and putting it on the computer screen with a mat around it and a frame around it, just to prove to me what the price would be. And I kept saying, no. It was, maybe she came up with $70 or something. I'm like, no, I can do this. And I just wanted a mat with some color. So she shows me like a dozen mats, and she said, these are the only ones that will cut you a mat. This whole other fabulous array of mats is what you can use if you have us frame. I'm like, oh, no, forget it. And she said, well, she's looking at it, and she goes, all right, don't fall over. Seriously. If you're drinking something, swallow. Whatever. She says to me, after she tries to tell me that she frames all kinds of, my quotes out, your friends' needlework. I frame all kinds of your friends' needlework. She says to me, how will you keep, oh, she's trying to sell me on glass. On glass. Well, I always recommend whatever, glass. I said, no, I don't think I'll use glass. I like just the look. Without glass on a little thing like this. And so, okay, here we go. She says to me, Well, how are you going to keep that piece in there if you don't have glass? Seriously. I would ever leave a piece of stitching to be framed by somebody who asks me how I'm going to keep that stitching in the frame if I don't have glass. Now, I realize that Michael's contracts with somebody to do their framing. Sign is right there behind the counter. Framing brought to you by whoever in my town. Contract. That's not a name I recognize, as one of our local framers or anything. So, honest to God, how are you going to keep that in there without glass? I don't know what my friends are getting framed. But, holy crap, this person won't be getting anything framed there. So anyway, let's get on to the quilts. Just a few minutes of things, small things. It's fall. It's time when I'm getting out things that, well, this is not a fall thing, but I got it out because I'll take it to my first of the year Quilt Guild meetings. In May, I'm in two different quilt guilds. So one quilt guild puts on a big quilt show every other year, and when they do that, they get some nationally known designers in there to teach classes and stuff. So I signed up for this landscaping class, and the designer is, I don't know her first name, but the last name is England, so it's England Design Studios, and she taught her method, which is not a paper piecing method, of landscaping, and we started, I swear to God, with the hardest landscape pattern she's got. So I stuck to it. I worked, and I have an end result that really looks nice, that I'm quite happy with. And then I did this. I have paperwork with it because I'm going to take it to my quilt guild next week. This was just a little. I'm working on the binding, so the binding needs to be hand stitched around to the back. But I did this in Florida last winter. It's just a little, I just want to say just a little ditty. I know the light is kind of washing out a little bit of it. I like to just throw a little quilt over a chair or just wherever. The fabric is Moda's The Front Porch, which I probably have had for a couple of years, so who knows if you can get that. The point of this is Miss Rosie's Quilt Company has these things. I think she works for Moda. Now, she used to be all by herself, but I think she works for Moda. Cupcake mixes, and there's this size, and there's 10-inch square sizes. And the idea is that this one would use a charm pack, 2 charm packs often. You paired up each single charm with, in this case, I used a white charm pack, so one of these and the white. And then you sew, this was Cupcake Mix Recipe 3. And you lay on your layered charms, you pin on a piece of paper, one of these, out of this cake mix. This was cupcakes. I think this was cupcakes, and I think the 10-inch might be called cake mix. And then you sew wherever it tells you to sew, in this case down and around here, and then up, down, around, up, and down. And then you cut on the solid lines. So all the cutting, and then you rip off all the paper. It's a little fitsy-futsy, whatever, but you get 2 half square triangles and 2 4 patches. I'm counting. You get 4 half square triangles, and you get enough little square sets, strips, like we would call those strip sets, to make 4 half square triangles. So somewhere in this quilt, there's another block that looks exactly like this. And then the cupcake recipe gives you suggests different ways you can sew them together to get a different look. you can buy, if you don't have a quilt store and you want to try this because it looks kind of neat and simple and easy to keep your sizes uniform, you can buy these on Amazon. You do have to, the half square triangles come out fully done, a full half square triangle. See that? That's right there. But these come out in pairs and you have to sew them into 4 patches. And these are little. These are 1-inch square finish. But in making something like this, you're never actually handling a little tiny square like that. It is already sewn together to its mate. And so it's a little, like I said, it's a little fussy, but it's one of those things that somebody will bring something to show and tell that's made from these. Or we had a quilt shop do a little thing on them last year at my Quilt Guild. Well, I had bought this recipe pack a few years ago, and finally I took it to Florida with me, and it's just sort of like brainless sewing, cutting, pressing, ripping the little papers. And it took me all the way up until a couple weeks ago to finish piecing them together into something. I ended up, instead of just one big mass of row after row of this same thing, I put a little bit of sashing and a cornerstone between them. It just, one right up against the other was just chaotic for your eye to look at. So anyway, that's a cutie little. I'm going to put it over here on the back of the couch and hope that the cat doesn't think it's his bed, because Murphy sleeps up there. All right, so there's those. This one, I believe, I went through my patterns looking for this pattern back here and pulled out a bunch of fall patterns, but I didn't have patterns for everything I'm going to show. This one, I just love this one. I am the treat. I hang this up in my kitchen in the fall, and it might be called I Am the Treat. If you Googled it, it's fun. I showed it at my Quilt Guild, and I think I had to share the pattern around. And this one was another one I didn't come across the pattern for, and it's just a little ditty. It's not, there's lots of patterns this time of year that are pumpkins. Even if it's pumpkins with no face, you could add faces. That's cute. Let me see. I have an order I intend to go in here. I have a little spot where I hang a 12-inch square. Actually, I have a couple different places. 12-inch square little things. The Wooden Bear Quilt Designs. This is September Schoolhouse. I know we don't always like all our fall things to be school, but, I did have school kids at the time. But what I love is the way the border looks like a pencil. Isn't that cute? So that's just, all the little things that come out. And is this one? Yep. Another, the Wooden Bear. It's cute. These usually come with buttons to embellish them. This one was in a magazine at some point, and I gave the magazine to my friend, so I don't have it. It could very well also be a Wooden Bear pattern that was featured in a magazine. So those will come out in the next couple days. But what I really wanted to show you was this one. This is the quilt. This is the pattern. I am in love with this quilt. Log Cabin Patchworks Pattern Company Pumpkin Patch. So there's the pattern, and the quilt. So I'm going to have to turn this upside down so I can read it. This quilt, as pictured, is 52.5 by 58.5. So that's a good size quilt. You really have to have a wall to hang it on or something, somewhere to put it. It's a lot of applique. It gets a little bit heavy, like stiff, to think you're going to cover up with it. And I just love this so much, but I didn't want it huge. So I made it this size, which I don't know the dimensions. I would say it is roughly a quarter of the other one. I quartered it. And when you quarter a quilt, The math, I don't want to make your heads explode. When you look at a pattern and you want to reduce it by half, what you essentially get is a quarter of the size of the original. Because when you are shrinking something in half, you're shrinking it in half, both width and depth. So that's what happens, and I did it in a half, and I got, let's see, I'm going to get out of my seat and show you. I love it when it's time to put this baby up. You just get to get out. That was my bad. My husband called. Can't not take that call. So anyway, I just got to dig through and find all my primitive scraps and fabrics and just put it together. It was so much fun. So that's the name of it. It's really hard to go wrong. Obviously, when you're making half square triangles, for example, accuracy and its size would be nice. Look. Ooh, look how much I cut that corner off. So what the heck? Apparently accuracy is not that paramount when it's primitive. And honestly, if half square triangles aren't your game, which I know, if you're just starting out or just don't feel like it, you really could just put in a solid piece of fabric or a complementing piece of fabric, or maybe a primitive looking plaid or something, because essentially what you're doing is just creating a square and using filler with some of these shapes. I mean, this one's a rectangle, so the block really is the key element is right here, and what runs across here and up here is just filler to make it fit. And it's entirely possible. My recollection is I had to do something a little different just to make it work. I'm looking at the pattern at the same time that I look at this. No, not so much. I'm not finding anything anyway. The stars aren't pieced. They're just oh, maybe make a liar out of me. That is not applique. That star's pieced. That star's applique. And really, if piecing the star is more than you want to do, you could just do a whole solid piece of fabric in there and then applique the star on there. And because it's sort of a primitive look, the star could leak over into your other blocks even. I use when I do applique, I do where you put the double-sided Pellon or something like that. I can't think of what its real name is, but you can draw on it, and then you iron the fabric on right side up on one side of it, and then you cut it out, and then you peel off the sticky from the other side, and you put it on your piece so it stays nice and crisp. And then my machine has a really nice buttonhole stitch. It's kind of hard to see it on here. I tend to use thread that matches the fabric. Let's go to and then because it's raw edge, sometimes there's little threads that come through. But honestly, and the cat has got to be, that is not piece. Let's look at the cat a little closer. I just quilted all around it, just a whimsical. The crow, he's not pieced. His wing is a separate piece, but that had to have been part of the pattern. These are appliqued on. And just a real simple echo quilting around it. I did, a straight line through these just to give them the look. So simple. I would hope if anybody's in the market for this, they could find it. There's a website, I know I'm of the era, I gotta say that, logcabinpatchworks with an S.com. This pattern came out in 2009. So I snatched it up and made it right away. So I've probably had it done since then. So there. That's it. That's all I've done for the last few weeks. I've been busy sewing quilting things, but nothing to show you other than that one I just showed that I'm putting the binding on. And Whatever else, I don't know. I have a group of friends I get together to sew with, not stitch, but sew like with our sewing machines, and they're coming. There's four of us. When you're putting up tables and sewing machines, that's a good number. Three of us will gather tomorrow for the day. The fourth will come and join us for lunch just to visit and catch up. So I've been organizing and putting together my sewing things so that we can have our little get together and sew and visit. It's been so long since we've done that. I can't even think the last time. In small groups, just two of us maybe at a class are together or things like that. Three of us were at a class. During the summer, we traveled down into Pennsylvania to take a class. So it'll be fun for the four of us. Usually we go away together on a weekend to sew at a retreat, like an apartment that used to be owned by a quilt shop and all set up, for you to come and sew, and that got sold. So, boo. We have yet to find a place that is to our fits our needs. One of the things that was so nice about that one was it's right in a town and you didn't have to move your car. You could just walk out to the restaurants every night and that kind of thing. So we don't want to cook. We'll fix our own breakfast and lunch and maybe go out and get something simple for lunch. But when it comes to supper, we just don't want to be messing with that. So we enjoy that. And I don't know. We just can't find any place. We don't want to drive for hours. We don't blah, 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 blah. So anyway, we have every now and again we get together at one or another of our houses. So tomorrow I'm having them over. So yay, that'll be fun. Good times. I'm packed and ready. It's not anywhere near tomorrow. So anyway, I will be back when I have some things to report and show. And in the meantime, watching. Okay, so I got some suggestions for different videos to watch. One of my friends that I met at the very first Midwest Cross Stitch Retreat, she told me that she enjoys watching some Mennonite gals who make videos mostly about their life. And I did check those out mostly because I talked so much about the Mennonites in my area. It was very interesting because they live a very different Mennonite kind of life than around here. They wear clothes you would buy at the store, whereas our ladies wear dresses they make and or buy made, but it's all out of very, very specific kind of fabric and very specific style. And the horse and buggies and all that, they would not be making videos about their life. And they were driving cars and living in houses that they decorate and talk about decorating and so on and so on, and that would not happen here with my Mennonites, but it was interesting to see. And then I just checked out a few. I feel like this takes a drum roll. I found somebody else that I'm going to add to my list. Helen D. She's in Maine. She's a young woman, stay-at-home mom, and she has a style that's not that far off from my own, and she's very productive from the handful of videos I watched. I haven't added anybody new in a long time, I feel like, but people go away. I haven't seen a video from several people, or there's people I just kind of really don't watch anymore. They don't do anything that's interesting to me and whatever, So, yay, found somebody new. And I have all those videos to catch up on, and I've hardly had any time to watch, but the time will come. Fall is coming. So anyway, happy Thursday. Maybe we'll get uploaded tonight. I have to go where there's good internet. So, and obviously splice together all the parts. So anyway, have a good one. Bye.